Greetings, I'm SUNCARD19, and here's your 2020 Pick a Pile reading. Alright, so what I want you to do is focus on the pile along with the crystal that you feel is the right one for you. And the one that you focus on, the one that you choose, is going to give you the reading that you need to get an outlook and just get some advice and get some things to look at for the 2020. First, we have the Prism of Vision Tarot with a tiger's eye. We have the Wild Unknown Tarot with an opal. We have the Universal Weight Tarot with a snowflake obsidian, and we have the Night Sun Tarot with a turquoise. Okay, so pick a pile, decide the one that's right for you, and here we go. Greetings, I'm SUNCARD19, and here's the first pile. This is the Prism of Visions Tarot along with Tiger's Eye. Here we go. Okay, up first, here we have the Three of Swords, followed by the Nine of Swords, the Illumination card, Six of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. Okay, here with the Three of Swords, this card indicates that there may be sort of a mismatch of opinions, and so like a mismatch of words, or people are not really on the same page, can't connect for some reason, some sort of a need to over-communicate. So what I would say for this 2020 reading, for this outlook type of reading, would say that make sure that you over communicate. Make sure that you take time to not just assume that other people understand what you're saying, but actually go out your way and say, you know what, this is what I mean. I want to over communicate with you. I want to really tell you how I feel. I want you to, I want to break it down to you. I want to go the extra step so that we stay on the same page. So not something where two people just sort of say what they say, but there's no elaboration. There's no chance for really deeper thought. Everything just sort of stays at the surface, but it leaves everything for interpretation. So what I would say with this Three of Swords is make sure that you go in detail and make sure that you go deeper and allow yourself to elaborate and say more and do more, so that communication goes from being a struggle to being a strong point, which leads us to the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords is a card that says you gotta stand up and face your fears. And so sometimes you gotta look danger right in the throat, look danger right in the face and say, I'm ready, I'm prepared. And so you may be someone who may not like conflict. You may be someone who doesn't want to be the bad guy, or someone who doesn't want to force other people to behave and act a certain kind of way. But what this card is saying is that if you're going to move forward and you're really going to over communicate, then sometimes you got to be comfortable with conflict. Sometimes you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the only way you're going to make progress in this situation is getting outside of your comfort zone a little bit, doing things in a different way, which leads us to the Illumination card. And this card is about shedding light on things. And this is the card about having like an awakening, saying that it's a big deal of seeing things from different viewpoints and being willing to look at things differently. With the Illumination card, the Illumination card is about, can you see the world from other people's perspective? And so this would be very helpful for you as you over communicate, as you handle this conflict, is to be able to see the world from someone else's vision, seeing the world from someone else's eyes, which leads us to the Six of Chalices, which is a card about healing. It's a card about rebirth. And so the rebirth in this situation is allowing parts of you and allowing phases of you to die off and saying, you know what, I don't need those phases anymore. I can let them go. Those parts of me can die off. So this is like the literal death and rebirth phases of your life. And so for 2020, the question is, how do you let things die? How do you let things go? How do you burn things off of you that are no longer necessary or maybe no longer serving you? Which leads us to the Ace of Wands, which is a card of rebirth and a card of restoration and health and vitality. And so we go from very cold cards here on this side to much warmer, much stronger cards on this side. So what the winter phase of what you may be going through is a phase of the big need to communicate, the big need to over communicate, the big need to allow yourself to be heard and allow yourself to speak your truth and to really elaborate on how you feel about things. So don't just leave things for our interpretation. Really go into it. Really let people know how you feel, and you know, deal with the conflict as it comes up. Okay, so don't necessarily avoid the conflict. Sometimes you have to go into the conflict and face it and really go through it. Okay, so that will be helpful for you, which takes us to the illumination card, which sort of begs us to say, you know, what is their perspective? How do we see this thing from their side? And that's going to give you a chance to reflect and be the reflection. And so the Six of Chalices is a card about healing, and it's about the rebirth phase. This is like the death phase on this side, and this is the resurrection of the rebirth side. To the Ace of Wands is a huge beginning, a new start. This is an opportunity to really press a lot of light and press a lot of energy into a new situation where you can really make some big changes and really maybe, you know, shed some things off and let some things go. And that creates more room for the one major thing in your life that you want to do. So the Six of Chalices in this section here, these first 4 cards, I feel like you're like trading in 3 things that you kind of want for one thing that you really want. So what 3 things would you sacrifice or let go of to get a hold of and to have one big thing that you really want? Okay, so that's going to be the big question here. What 3 things would you get rid of in order to have one big thing? And that would be your big clue this year. So if there's certain areas of your life that you're ready to get rid of or to remove in order to let one big project or one major thing grow, then I feel like this is your opportunity to make it happen. I'm SUNCARD19. Thankfully read for you. Many blessings to you. Love and light. Be sure to hit the like button. Leave a comment. Tell me why you chose this reading and what it means to you. Be sure to subscribe and share this with other people. Have a good one. Peace. Greetings, I'm SUNCARD19, and this is the second pile. This is the Wild Unknown pile along with the Opal. Here we go. Okay, up first here we have the Father of Cups, followed by the High Priestess reversed. Up next we have the Wheel of Fortune, the Hermit reversed, and lastly the Mother of Cups reversed. And so what I would say with this Father of Cups card, this is an opportunity for you to really connect with someone who is very emotionally mature and someone who's a great listener. So the Father of Cups, it puts you in an opportunity to also be that way. So if you're ready to, if you have the opportunity to grow and become more mature and be a great listener, be someone who is willing to just be in a place where you can listen and not necessarily respond. The Father of Cups is a great card for someone who just doesn't necessarily need to offer solutions. This is someone who is just being there, being attentive, giving someone attention by listening and just being present with them. So that's a big clue for you for this 2020 reading is how do you become present and stay present with people without necessarily clouding them up with your information or your stuff. So if you have someone who's going through something or someone who may be dealing with issues, how do you stay focused on their healing or what their process is versus interjecting yourself and saying, well, I know you're going through this, but I'm also going through that. You know, whatever that thing may be. So this Father of Cups card to me has a lot to do with being very present and being very attentive to someone who may really need you, especially emotionally, or someone who just needs to be there for you. Okay, here we have the High Priestess reversed. The High Priestess reversed is a card about learning about yourself. And so this to me is another card that speaks about being quiet, being a listener, being attentive. And so what this represents to me is this is a chance for you to not only listen to other people, but also a chance for you to stop and listen to yourself. And so what information or, you know, what are your thoughts really guiding you? And can you slow your life down enough to where you can take your own advice and listen to your own intuition and be present with yourself? So you aren't always in a state where you may need to listen to music or you're like always trying to like drown your own attention out with social media or like games or whatever the case may be. It's just like being present with yourself and really thinking about, you know, your own thoughts and think about your own internal dialogue and being more aware and being more attentive with just the life around you, which leads to a Wheel of Fortune. This card indicates that if you do pay attention, if you are in a state of being very attentive, being very focused on just sort of the inner workings of your life and the inner workings of yourself and just paying attention to your own thoughts and actions, this could lead to a great opportunity for you to grow, an opportunity for you to develop and really get on your next level. So what would it take? You know, what pieces of yourself or what ideas are you currently missing out on by constantly being in a state of distraction or constantly being in a state where your focus is always on outwardly things? And so you just, you know, what are you missing out on? What are you not catching? What are you not getting by always being focused on the outer world versus the inner world? And so these two cards have a lot to do with the inner focus and being inwardly attentive, which leads to the Hermit card reverse. And so this is a card, the Hermit card is a card that's very comfortable, very happy with the inner world, and it's reversed for some reason. So it's like maybe you've been ignoring yourself for some reason, or maybe you've been sort of avoiding your own internal process, your own internal dialogue. And so what pieces of yourself do you not really want to face? What parts of your own decisions and your own actions and your own behaviors, you know, what part of that do you not really want to take a real internal look at? And so have you been ignoring your own vices? Have you been ignoring your own setbacks and ignoring your own, the ways that you get in your own way? Have you been pushing that aside? Have you been, have you been so focused on things that are external so that you can avoid these internal conversations and these internal dialogues? Which leads us to the last card, which is the Mother of Cups reversed. And so this Mother of Cups has a lot to do with just the idea of the motherly figure. So we both have the Father and Mother of Cups here. And so how do we create a space where you can heal the nurturing presence in your life, and you can address the nurturing presence in your life? So depending on your relationship with your mother, or if you are a mother potentially, this is a really great opportunity for you to heal that relationship and for you to work on that relationship. So I feel like one of the major outcomes or the major things that are being called to address in the 2020 cycle is a chance to either become the mother that you can be, or you can really repair and grow and develop your relationship with your mother. And so this card has a lot to do with, it just has a lot to do with healing that relationship. And so by this half of the reading to me has a lot to do with internal dialogue and being comfortable with your own intuition, internally focused, not trying to distract yourself from yourself with outwardly or worldly things. This is the internal dialogue, which gives you opportunities now to see the things that you've been afraid of, to see the things that you haven't been wanting to work with, or things that you've been wanting to avoid, which could lead us to an opportunity for you to heal a major part of yourself. The mother figure in your life, or the motherly architect in your life, is a card where you may not necessarily have the best relationship with this person, or maybe you do, but what if you don't? Can you heal it and take it to another level? And can you sort of free yourself of that burden, or free yourself of that concern in your life? Okay, so that's a big deal here. So by having this inward attentiveness can lead you to being able to have more reserve, have more energy available to take on one big challenge or one big area of your life. Okay, so being less scattered, being less spread apart, give you an opportunity to tackle one major area of change. And if you can heal your relationship with your mother, I feel like, or just improve it, if you can improve that relationship, I feel like you will have a tremendous impact on your life. I'm Elijah SUNCARD19. Thank you for watching. Thank you for letting me read for you. Many blessings to you. Love and light. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, comment, tell me why you chose this reading, tell me what it means to you. Be sure to subscribe and share this with other people. Have a good one. Peace. Greetings, Elijah SUNCARD19, and up here we have the Universal Weight Tarot deck along with the Snowflake Obsidian. Let's go. Okay, up first here we have the Seven of Pentacles, which is our jumper card, which becomes our signifier. We have the Emperor reversed. We have the Nine of Wands reversed. We have the Six of Cups, the High Priestess, followed by the Tower card reversed. The Seven of Pentacles card is a card about inputs and affecting the inputs and dealing with the inputs. So this card says, let's be very mindful for this 2020 reading, for this 2020 year. Let's be super mindful of the things you consume. And so what is your diet? Now, your diet is more than just the food you eat by consumption. Also represents the things you read, the music you listen to, the TV shows you watch, the conversations you have with certain people, and what role certain people play in your life. So this is a card about inputs and controlling your inputs. So being very mindful, being very strict about what music you're willing to listen to, what messages are you willing to send to your subconscious mind, what TV shows you want to watch, and do you always want to, sometimes it's not always a good thing. It's not always a productive use of your time. And so it's about, do you have time to read books, or what podcasts are you listening to, or what conversations are you having with people? And so are they positive and productive? So what inputs are you allowing yourself to have? Up next here, we have the Emperor card reversed. This is a card about finding ways to be more peaceful, finding ways to be on the same page as other people in your life. The Emperor is a card who just wants to go conquer the world. Someone who wants to just be a real go-getter, be someone who just takes over and does things their way. So the Emperor card is very stubborn and very warlike. And so what I would say here is this is an opportunity for you to seek humility, take time to really think about, why do I think I'm right about this thing? Why do I think I'm right in this situation? And what, is it possible to see the opposite is the opposite right, or the opposite potentially have some piece of information that I need to know? So this card is saying, don't always assume you're right. Don't always assume that you're the person who can do no wrong, or you're the person who has all the answers. This card says sometimes it's more beneficial for you to be in a state of humility, and then being in a state where you can really ask those deep questions, those reflecting questions of, am I right here? What if I were wrong? What are my opponents? What if I assume my opponents were correct, and then, prove myself wrong? And what information can I gather from that process? Up next here, we have the Nine of Wands reversed. And this is a card about making sure you're not separating yourself through this sense of being a go-getter, your sense of being, someone who is more forceful, or someone who's more of a conqueror of some sort. This Nine of Wands reverses that by being so driven and being so stubborn, you can actually box yourself in and be away from other people, and you can lead yourself into a state of isolation. So without any prompted way of seeking and finding humility, or developing your own humility, and then I would say that through audiobooks, through podcasts, through whatever way you consume media, is by gaining a sense of humility, by being much more humble. This can give you a chance to not necessarily be so isolated from other people and be so right, because you're not right all the time, and certain people think they are. Up next here, we have the Six of Cups, and this leads to the healing phase. The Six of Cups is a chance to sort of right all the wrongs in your life, or right all the wrongs maybe of your past, which leads us to the challenge card, is the High Priestess. The High Priestess is a card that really knows about herself. She's someone who can really focus on herself and give herself the advice that she needs. She has a very strong intuition. She's someone who trusts her gut feeling, and this becomes a challenge for you because I think that in this state back here, it may be a situation where you want to do things your way, maybe be stubborn and sort of lock yourself in and be isolated from people so that you don't have to worry about the things that they say or the things that they do, which leads us to a chance where with this High Priestess card has a lot to do with saying that maybe a struggle for you as far as being able to accept other people's ideas and accept other people's way of living, but then also reflecting and building and creating your own way and living the life that you want to live. And so that leads us last to the Tower card reverse. This Tower card reverse to me says that this is like slow change. This is a grind. And it says that if you're willing to grind and make daily changes, literally change your daily routine, then I feel like you can change your inputs so that you can have way better outputs. So if you're willing to change the things you're listening to, maybe you listen to motivational videos instead of like maybe violent music, or listen to audiobooks or educational podcasts where you're changing your inputs that can lead to different outputs. And so sometimes when you listen to someone who's motivational or someone who's very encouraging, you may find ways to have some courage or have some motivation to heal or fix some things from your past that you may not have had the motivation to do before. And so by allowing positive energy and allowing motivational energy into your life, this allows you to seek the internal world, where then you can start making the daily changes and the more long-term changes. So you're looking for behaviors that you can repeat year and year over, okay? Not things that you can try for 2 weeks or things that you can try for a month, but things that you literally can try and do for years at a time. So whatever changes you're making internally, externally, behavior, whatever way you can become more open to people, this leads us to an opportunity for you to make slow and steady but permanent changes and lasting changes. So you'll be able to change by changing your inputs. You can change your outputs by deliberate, slow, really meaningful behaviors. And so, change things that you need to change. Do what you got to do, but make sure that whatever changes you're going to make, that you're able to sustain them for the long run. And by being able to sustain those changes and keep pushing and pouring energy into it, so that eventually it will change itself, it'll run itself, but there's still a long time where you need to put a lot of energy into it so that it can get the momentum it needs to finally kick itself in gear and make its own change. So overall, I feel like by changing your inputs, it's going to have a big impact on your outputs. So big deal. Be very mindful in this 2020 cycle of the music you're listening to, the podcast you're listening to, the movies or TV shows you watch, the things that you read, and the conversations you have, because it's all influencing your mind, it's all influencing your subconscious mind. And so the more information you can take in as far as motivational and educational and things like that, you can get a chance to make better choices, and you get a chance to really change your life for the slow, for the steady, but for the permanent. I'm Elijah SUNCARD19. Thankfully, we leave for you many blessings, love and light. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, tell me why you chose this reading and what it means to you. Be sure to subscribe and share this video with other people. Have a good one. Peace. Greetings, I'm Elijah SUNCARD19, and here we have the Night Sun Tarot along with the turquoise reading. Here we go. Okay, so first here we have the Queen of Pentacles reversed, we have the Emperor reversed, we have the Devil card reversed, the Eight of Cups reversed, the Two of Swords reversed, along with the Magician card. So the Magician card was our signifier card that popped out, so that's going to play a major role in our reading, sort of give us the shadow or the background information. And then now we have 5 reverse cards, so let's see what this 2020 reading means to you. This Queen of Pentacles reversed is someone who is someone who's not willing to think long term, someone who is being very impatient, someone who says, I want it now, I want it all, I want it now. And I'm not really willing to wait, and I'm not really willing to stick it out. I'm going to change behaviors, change tactics, change approaches over and over and over again. And so it's like, oh, well, I did that for a week, I didn't get any results. Or, oh, I did that for 2 weeks, didn't get the results I wanted. And it's like, no, you need to do this for 8 months. You need to do this for a year. And so this is saying, stick with it, And so you're not in a state where you're just randomly just changing things, trying to think that every new change that you make is going to have a new reading or a new sort of information or a new outcome for you. So it's like you just want immediate results. You want it to just work immediately. And so you're going to have to be able to work with this thing and do this thing over and over again in order to get the real results, get some deeper results. So it's not just surface level information here. This is more deeper level, saying that pick a particular thing that you need to work on, whether it's yoga or journaling or fitness or running or whatever the case may be. Whatever it is, the thing that you are working on, that could really pick a strategy, pick a technique, pick a particular book or something that you're going to use and stick with it, and be willing to stick with it for 10 months, a year, 2 years, and have that commitment to the process, have that commitment to the change, but be committed to doing this thing a different way, and don't exactly think that the outcome or the results are going to happen overnight. Which leads us to the Emperor card reverse. And the Emperor card reverse has a lot to do with being still and not being on the hunt or being on the seeking phase. So the Emperor card always wants to go and seek and do things a different way, is always out in the exploration phase and on the go and sort of the let's go over there and conquer and go over there and conquer. And the Emperor is rarely where he is. He's always thinking about being somewhere else. And so with this Queen of Pentacles reverse, along with this Emperor reverse, is that be where you are. And so your happiness, your pleasure, your excitement about life is all where you are. It does not have to be somewhere down the road or down a line or somewhere over there. It doesn't have to be like that. You can get all this from where you are, and seeking to be stable, not being in a rush to move on, being in a rush to change or move around, but being willing to stick with something more long term, which leads us to the Devil card reverse. And Devil card is a card that's really is a card that calls people out on their vices. It's a card that calls people out on their behavior, saying that you may have a feeling or a sense that, that your behaviors aren't that bad. They aren't that, they're okay. I'm not hurting anybody. But you actually may be hurting yourself a lot more than you realize. And so there may be a lot of parts to you where you think that you can behave and act in certain ways and like, it's not hurting anybody. But you may really be hurting somebody. And that may be in lost productivity or just not being the best or being the most attentive to who you really can be. So the Devil card reverse has a lot to do with calling you out and saying, you think you have this situation under control, but you really might not have it under control. So be willing to give the thing up. If you control it so much, make sure that you can get rid of it so that you don't need it. Otherwise, it's going to control you. Which leads us here to the Eight of Cups reversed. And this is a challenge situation where you may be sort of stuck where you are and not ready or willing to walk or move on. This Eight of Cups is sort of got you chained by your neck or got you chained by the hands, where you're so busy trying to balance this thing and make these things work. But like this Devil card reverse here is saying that there's actually, instead of trying to make everything balance and make everything work, there's actually some things that you need to let go of, which leads us to the Two of Swords reverse. And it says that you do have an ultimate decision, something that it is time for something to be removed from your life, trying to let something go. And so with the Two of Swords reverse, is saying that you're really going to have to trust your instincts or trust your heart in order to let this thing go or let something go, so that you're not necessarily carrying all the emotional weight and emotional baggage, and you can actually be free from it. So by being consistent, I feel like this front end of your reading is being consistent, picking something and sticking with it, while using this Devil card reverse, is saying that your vices can actually get out of hand. Your pleasures in life, your sort of, retail shopping or whatever it is that you do to reduce stress and not be so stressed out about life, whatever it is that you do in life can actually catch up to you, can actually, put you in more harm than you realize. So let's be more mindful. Let's be more attentive to your vices so that they don't get out of hand. And being willing to let things go, let the burden of weight drop down off of your shoulders, so that you don't have as many decisions to make, so you don't have as many things to please or so many directions to be in, which leads to this Two of Swords reverse. This Two of Swords reverse has a lot to do with ultimately making a decision of what's the one thing that you want to win. If you can only have it one way, or you can only be focused on one thing, what would you give up? What other things would you give up in order to have that one thing that you really want? Which leads us back to our signifier card, which is the Magician. The Magician is a card that is willing to seek and really use attention as a tool. And so this card says that it's okay to be a center of attention. It's okay to be someone who is worthy and noticeable, someone who is allowed to stand out and really show off his or her talents. And so by having that set where you are willing to step out and you are willing to sort of brag a little bit and be on the main stage, that gives you an opportunity to really decide what that one thing is that you want, so that you can showcase it, so that you can put it to its most use. So overall, I feel like with this reading, you need to pick something, pick a routine, pick a behavior or something that you want to learn or something that you want to do, yoga, martial arts, reading, learning Mandarin, whatever it is, whatever that thing is that you want to do, stick with it. Like, just make a plan and say, hey, I'm going to try this for 6 months. I'm going to try this for 10 months or 2 years. And I'm just going to keep trying it. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to go a different direction. I'm not going to change my mind every 3 weeks. By sticking with it and then being very diligent about removing distractions and removing vices from your life and letting go of this emotional burden, letting this weight fall off of you, that can lead you to a place where you can make a true decision or a deeper decision to be someone who has something that you're proud of, to be someone who can show off your talents and skills and put them on display, okay? But the only way you're going to get to that place where your talents, your skills, or whatever changes that you're making in your life, before they become noteworthy, before they become sort of popular, or whatever the case may be, whatever attention you may garner from this process, you have to do that through faith that you can have these long-term behaviors. So whatever it is you want to change, whoever it is that you're growing into and becoming, make sure that whatever changes that you make are changes that you can sustain and you can do for several years on end, okay? So that you can become the person you need to be. I'm Elijah SUNCARD19. Thank you for choosing this reading. Thank you for letting me read for you. Many blessings to you. Love and light. Be sure to hit the thumbs up. Make sure you comment. Tell me why you chose this reading and what it means to you. Be sure to subscribe and share this with other people. Have a great one. Peace.